As folks are joining, we're just going to wait a minute or so to make sure everyone is here. So hang on there.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christian Tam. I work for LAS, the Local Authority Services, business arm of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. And I would like to welcome you to this morning's webinar, Show Me the Money. We'll talk more about where we got that name from, but let's begin with a land acknowledgement to start the day. We recognize that our work as LAS and the work of our members takes place on traditional Indigenous territories across Ontario. We recognize and respect the history, languages, cultures of the First Nations, the Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples whose presence continue to enrich our communities. Right. So let's begin this morning's webinar, maybe with a kind of an introduction. You know my name, Christian Tam. I work for LAS. I've been working for LAS the last 8 years now. Proud to what I do with LAS as a municipal program specialist. I was working with a municipality outside of London as an energy manager. And yeah, proud to that. I was in the private sector, in the world of consultancy. At LAS, what exactly do we do? LAS develops programs and services for municipalities. We are your municipal association, and as a municipality, we develop programs and services. One of such programs is the energy training workshop that we offer to municipalities. You're going to hear more about that. And the other is even this webinar that we are doing. We have a program like facility lighting, where we help municipalities to upgrade to LEDs. We'll talk more about that. We've been around for the last 30 plus years. We are non-for-profit, so we don't do this for money. We do this to help municipalities to save money. Our goal is helping municipalities reduce costs and thereby saving money. So we'll move to the next slide and I'll let Stephen talk about who he is and what he does.
Good morning, folks. I'm Stephen Dixon. I've probably met many of you, but not all of you. Look forward to meeting those that I haven't in the future and maybe re-meeting those that I have also in the future. I've been an energy person for about 40, actually it's probably closing down on 45 years now. My time flies. I've worked in many, many different sectors, including municipal, industrial, commercial, and so my role here today as a partner of LAS is to simply sort of moderate the process. I've worked with the team here to pull this session together. I think my goal for this session is that each of you become inspired by the fact that there is money or funding available to do projects, but also that these projects can be very real. And I think that we'll really bring that point home with Supri, right, from the town of Ajax, and Nathan from Oxford County, because they've used these incentives and they've done some really good things. So welcome everybody, and we'll look forward to questions in the Q&A. Over to you, John.
Good morning. Thank you, Stephen, for passing the mic. Yes, my name is Shun Liang. I'm the founder of Treehouse Energy Services and also the former corporate energy manager for the city of Brampton. And in the slides below, you'll see that. It's why you'll see why that's important later on. I have 28 years of experience in the energy industry, and really thrilled to partner with Stephen and LAS on this webinar. What Treehouse does is we create roadmaps for decarbonization and energy savings. And those graphics on the right side of the slide just are some examples from my project work. I'm especially proud of the roadmap to decarbonization that I developed for the Canada Green Building Council, BOMA, and Media Edge. You'll see that there. And I work in all sectors, but mainly in institutional and commercial. And I also work part-time to review funding applications for the Federation of Municipalities. And they have a funding from the Green Municipal Fund. So that's me.
Okay, Excellent. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Supri from Town of Ajas, joining us this morning. We're going to get a case study from them in terms of how they have used some of this funding. We're going to talk about, and of course, Nathan from Oxford County as well. The whole idea, a quick brief of why we've gathered here is to point to where the funding is. There is money. In researching and preparing for this webinar, I realized if there is a province or if there is a country where energy efficiency is heavily funded, Canada is one of them. I mean, I checked other countries and the kind of funds we get here for billions and billions of energy efficiency projects, other countries don't have it that way. So we are here to just point and say they are here, make a use of it and reduce the cost of your projects. And finally, the slide deck will be made available. So just relax and take it all in. You don't have to take screenshots or notes, just relax. You will get a copy of the slide deck and rather take it in. So I'll hand over to Stephen, to start us up. Then Sean will come up and, point us to some of the funding opportunities that are there. And I will take over. Then Supri comes on board. Then Nathan will wrap us up. But whilst we're going on, if you have any question, please put them in the quick Q&A and we will do our very best to make sure all is answered. So over to you, Stephen.
Great. Thank you, Christian, and thanks, Martin, for using the Q&A already. That's great. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes and create a bit of context for what we're going to do here. Obviously, financing for energy projects. What is an energy project? Well, it could be anything. It could be something as simple as maybe even weather stripping, building additive insulation, upgrading the lighting systems, or something that's very common these days is using speed control on fans and pumps. Or it could be a little more holistic, some door, window, or other element or envelope replacement, or maybe even going deeper into replacement or upgrade of inefficient cooling systems, which could ultimately then be part of a deep retrofit where we really take and modify and retrofit the energy systems in a building. So from basically, anything goes. And you'll see that in some of the projects that Supri and Nathan will present. And also there's funding for small things and there's funding for big things, as we'll see in the next slide. Now, these guidelines I've referenced on the screen here are particularly handy. There's a guideline overall for the principles of doing retrofits for commercial institutional buildings, but then there's also a set of guides for each different type of building. I've highlighted office buildings, but there's many other types of buildings depending on the type of building you have in your facility. So the first one kind of goes into the process, which I'll highlight in the next slide, and each of the subsequent ones talk about the opportunities that exist within those types of buildings. They're much more of technical nature, but they're very good, and I think they're very readable, even if you're not a technical person. So just very quickly, the process that I would advocate for a retrofit is one which begins with assessment, obviously, and looking for that commitment. Sean, you had that in your slide, looking for the commitment engagement. Benchmarking to understand where you stand, and then identification of opportunities. The planning piece is where you start to stage those measures, determining the timing of them, creating the business case. And one thing I always tell people is that energy efficiency is an investment. It's not a cost. I think in the past, many people have looked at it as a cost. My father and I worked together years ago. He was a metallurgical engineer, but he worked a lot in the quality sector. And many years ago, quality was a cost. People looked at quality in manufacturing or any kind of business as a cost. But in fact, today people see it as an investment. It's a necessary part. And energy is the same way. It's an opportunity for an investment. And if you do that financial analysis properly, you'll probably find that those energy efficiency investments are some of the best investments you can put your money into. So where does the money come from? Well, that's the subject of today's project, financing the project. But we can't lose sight of the fact that once we get that money, once we move ahead, we have to manage the project. Many organizations are good, including municipalities, at managing projects. That's great. So let's bring in those project managers. Depending on how we do it, external contractor, maybe a small project done internally. And a critical piece is the commissioning and project handoff to make sure that this equipment doesn't land on somebody's lap and they go, what am I going to do with this, right? So training of staff, the ongoing building optimization and monitoring and tracking to make sure that the money that we've invested actually returns what we expect it to return. There's other workshops around this process. In fact, we're running one next Thursday with BOMA Toronto. There's also ones through other organizations as well. So have a look at some of the workshops around the planning process. But today, let's focus on the money. All right, over to you, Chun, in terms of the money. And you're going to talk a little bit about the federal funding opportunities. John, are you
Yes,
there?
yeah, oh,
There we
sorry, yes, thanks for, Stephen, for passing the mic. I'm just gonna turn my camera back on. Oh, there we go. Yes, yeah, thank you, Stephen, for passing the mic, and for reminding us that energy efficiency projects are an investment. And I especially know Stephen from his training days, as the city of Brampton had used Stephen as a trainer and continued to use them. So thank you for that. In terms of, yeah, what I'm going to talk about primarily is for funding is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, who they are, what the eligibility requirements are, and and the thresholds for funding, how to apply, some application tips. I've had the privilege, I would say, of applying for FCM funding while I was the corporate energy manager at the city of Brampton, as uh, and then I've had the privilege of and still of reviewing funding applications for the federation, and now as an independent consultant with Treehouse, I've also applied on behalf of municipalities for their I've applied for funding on behalf of municipalities. So been very fortunate to have the three perspectives. And then we'll move on to sort of the work I did at the city of Brampton, the zero carbon retrofit. So in terms of FCM, for those of you who don't know, FCM is essentially the voice, the national voice of municipal government since 1901. Their members include more than 2,100 municipalities of all sizes, going from upper tier to lower tier, and townships. Working with townships, I learned the word reeve it's kind of equivalent to a mayor. So that's something I learned working with townships from Canada's cities and rural communities. They advocate for municipalities to be sure their citizens' needs are reflected in federal policies and programs. So that's them in a nutshell. In terms of the GMF funding programs and eligibility, um, the first requirement, and it may be an obvious one, but just to be clear, the building must be owned by a municipality. And then if there is a nonprofit, and this is not maybe as well known, that is in the municipal boundaries that owns a building, they can also apply too. Normally, FCM will ask for support from the municipality where the nonprofit is located in, and the building as well, and perhaps in form of a letter uh, is maybe one way to do that. Emission reductions in terms of energy targets must be met for these applications. Uh, the and there are a couple of streams that you can apply to, and for the sake of time and brevity, I'll refer you to, in terms of what the targets are, for municipal and community buildings. I'll refer you to the Canada Green Building Council guidance, which is referred to in the FCM guidance. New sustainable municipal buildings must achieve zero operational GHGs, adhere to EUI, TEDI targets, and integrate equity and inclusion elements. For those of you who may have applied to the other programs, such as the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Fund by the federal government, you may see some similarities. So in terms of the uh, the the targets, as I mentioned before, I won't get too much into detail on those, as just for the sake of time, but essentially, there's kind of this short-term target for 50% emission reductions and a long-term target for energy. So just to be very clear, there is an energy target in 20 years. and an emissions target 50% in 10 years. So those are two essentially in a nutshell. And for more details, you can refer to the FCM guide, which refers to the Canada Green Building Council guide. If we can advance to the next slide, I can talk about some of the funding thresholds for the Community Buildings Retrofit Fund. So as mentioned on the previous slide, there are two funding streams. There's the Sustainable Municipal Buildings funding stream and the Community Buildings Retrofit funding stream. Unfortunately, the Sustainable Municipal Buildings funding stream for this year, as some of you may or may not know, they have stopped accepting applications for the study and the capital stream because they're oversubscribed. But the good news is there are plans to relaunch the program next year. But currently, the CBR stream for community buildings, which are your libraries, arenas, museums, cultural centers, they are still accepting applications until December 19th for studies and capital projects. So you'll need to submit a full application, and that announcement actually was fairly recent, that December 19th announcement, and I received an email, I believe, last week from them about that, or it might have been the week before, and they recently put it on their website that it's December 19th is the deadline. Now, for those of you who may be wondering, well, are they going to bring back CBR next year? There are plans to do that too. It won't be the same form because the program was a 7-year program, and it next year I believe is the 7th year of it. So it was just kind of it was just running out its naturally its 7-year term. So they will be bringing it back, but it won't be the same form. And there has been discussion of combining CBR with SMB, Sustainable Municipal Buildings. So as you can see from the slides, the funding is fairly generous in terms of thresholds, with an 80% funding cap for $65,000 for a single building, and then there's a $200,000 cap for more than one building. And just to be clear, the cap is still $65,000 for a single building, but the overall cap for a portfolio is $200,000. And then in terms of the capital project, it is a combination of a grant and a loan, and up to 25% as a grant and the remainder as a loan. And those need to combine for a maximum of 80% of eligible project costs. And the absolute cap is $10 million on
So,
the monetary cap.
So, John, there's a couple of questions that I'm going to try to
Sure.
cover them quickly.
Sure.
Maybe we can answer them after. Is there a location where the SCM TEUI Energy Use Index targets are listed? Somebody's been not being able to find them. And the second question, I've noticed that the
Yes.
green building GHG reduction studies in climate zone 4 and 5 need to involve complete fuel transition. How will this affect the number of eligible projects? So maybe I want to acknowledge these questions. I mean, maybe we'll move on and we can answer those within the Q&A session, okay? Unless you
Yes.
can do a quick answer now.
Yes, let's do that in the Q&A,
Yeah.
just for the sake of
Yeah,
time.
and
But
maybe
those are great questions. Thank
Yeah.
you, Stephen.
Yeah, and when Christian's presenting, you might be able to type the answer to those in there too. So let's keep
Yeah.
going here.
Okay.
All right, so how do we get to that money, Christian? Or sorry, John.
Yes, that's a great question, and that's on everyone's mind. So, in terms of applying to the GMF fund through FCM, in the applicant guide there are 7 steps, and sometimes I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. So how do you remember 7 steps? So in some of my engagements in supporting other municipalities, I distilled it down to 4 steps. So even that might be a stretch to remember on some days. So the first step is a pre-application submission. So that's what I call kind of and what FCM also calls an eligibility determination, so that you've met all eligibility requirements, as I mentioned earlier. And then so that probably turns out to be about a 2 or 3 week process from my experience, if you're really keen on accelerating that. And then, in terms of the full application, That's the second step. So you have your pre-application, full application, and then a GMF, external and a GMF and external review, and then the GMF funding decision. So being a peer reviewer, as I mentioned before, I am part of that external review as an independent contractor for FCM. And the four kinds of submittals that need to go into that process are, as you can see there, the application, the pre-application form, the full application, which involves, narratives, narratives for each of the criteria that are marked for, that are graded by FCM. So things like environmental benefits, social benefits, economic benefits, and work plan and budget. And usually they put the work plan and the budget in the project workbook, which is a spreadsheet. And some of the examples of supporting documents would be, a project team, like a Gantt chart, maybe an emissions inventory, things like that.
So you've done a lot of these, Chun. So what are some tips that you might have for being effective at this?
Yeah, so because it's a peer review committee, uh, and some of the things I hear from other peer reviewers and from, my assessment of applications is, and from the assessment, guide published by FCM, for peer reviewers, is that, um, uh, and it's also mentioned in the application per guide too, is the multi-solving. So, what does that mean? I'd mentioned social, environmental, and economic criteria before, and so you're really trying to do a three-in-one solution. So an example of social is being more inclusive, accessibility, upgrades, or programs, upgrading, your programming space for uh, those who, excuse me, for to be more inclusive to the community, have more inclusive community programs, environmental, as I mentioned before, the emissions and energy targets, and things like water conservation, as well, going beyond energy, and also job creation through, through that 50% emissions reduction, and getting to an EUI target in 20 years, an energy target, which essentially is, getting pretty much close to net zero emissions. So in terms of the work plan and budget, some of the things that peer reviewers and I have seen, and this, may come as a bit of a surprise, but sometimes you have insufficient scope and budget for workshops. I've seen, you need to leave time and space for consensus. And the second thing, because I work in energy, I do energy modeling, as you saw from one of my earlier slides. The um, uh, the budget for hour by hour energy modeling, I see quite a big variance in that. So leave, a healthy budget for that as well. Um, and then in terms of,
John, just I
sure.
mean, in the time theme, I think the last 2 points are all about making sure you do your diligence, right? It's not something you can
Yes,
skip through, right?
yes,
Lots of supporting documents, make sure you explain everything. The completeness is going to be important. So,
yes. The due diligence is
yeah.
so important. You're absolutely right, Stephen.
So you had a question for folks out there, right?
Yes. A question for, yes, I did. In terms of, yeah, thank you for the prompt. Yeah, in terms of the uh, uh, the time to um, apply for an application. Um, if can we have we gotten that survey question up?
Yeah, the poll is up
Great.
there. I think
Great.
people can go ahead and vote on that, and
So
then
based on my experience with, my three perspective experience, I came up with this question regarding, what time of year would your municipality prefer to fill out and submit funding applications, bearing in mind it may take a council resolution for the latter step, like, because you'll need to commit part of your budget to the the study as the first step. And so that would be 20%, as I mentioned before, because the other 80% is covered by.
Let's take a look at the results here. Susan? Keep going there, Chun. We're just going to
Yeah,
pop the
okay,
results
great.
up.
So perfect. I'm just going to slide that over. So in terms of the case study, as I mentioned before, I'm the former energy management supervisor at the city of Brampton, and while I was there, I had the great opportunity to work on a zero carbon retrofit. The So just going through the steps quickly, the business as usual. We started with the business as usual as a baseline. We did an integrated and iterative retrofit design process, and part of that was life cycle costing. And we did what I called climate adaptation modeling, which is hour by hour simulation of the building, um, interacting with future climate, future weather data. So for those of you who may not heard, there are, the 27 or so climate models produced by the scientists that are working on the IPCC. They've created universities, around the globe from those climate models. They have created future weather data sets. And you can use those future weather data sets in energy modeling software. So to model the hour by hour effects 10 years into the futures. Some of the major keys to success of the project are, a redesign of the heating system and switching fuel to electricity and deploying renewable technology. Um, uh, so
How much
I
money
can't,
did they get, I guess?
Yeah, thank you for prompting, Stephen. So the council approved $20 million for this project, and I actually was surprised because we had two options in the staff report I wrote to council. We had a 12 million and a 20 million. So kudos to City Council for selecting the $20 million zero carbon option. I think that was great, and as I'll talk more about on the next slide, we did get funding for that from the GICB fund. So if you go to the next slide, we made two applications to do two different organizations. One for doing the study, as I mentioned before. So we did use the community buildings retrofit stream for the study funding from the Green Municipal Fund. So we were successful with that. And then and then we thought about, oh, why don't we apply to the capital funding stream of GMF? But we decided instead to apply to the GICB fund because it didn't have a cap. And so the GICB fund, we were very fortunate, and maybe it was meant to happen. The GICB funding came about right when we finished the FCM study. And I think it was just a perfect storm, to use that in a more kind of positive, that cliche, and I guess more of a positive aspect. So we received $15.7 million in funding from the GICB fund. And honestly, Stephen, I'd forgotten we had received the funding. Sorry, I'd forgotten we had applied because it was 14 months from the time we had applied until GICB got back to us. So in that 14-month period, it was a bit of a wait, but we received the funding. So yeah.
So moving on from the
Yeah.
sportsplex, what if you've got some community housing, right, or buildings? There's some money for that one, correct?
Yeah, so it's just sustainable, affordable housing. There's a stream for that as well. I haven't applied for that personally, but I know the SAH stream does exist, and you can apply for that as well.
Right.
So that might be more on the new build, but yeah, refer to the FCMS site for that. So if you search for
Awesome.
SAH, you'll get a hit for that. In terms of the key measures for the sportsplex, um, some of the key measures, they're kind of the usual suspects. And sorry, if I'm going a little over on time, the the uh, the heating redesign was a very key aspect. I'm sorry if I'm getting a little technical here, but some of you may have heard of this idea of using low grade heat, and the idea of, there are more efficient perimeter radiators, baseboard heating these days, hydronic heating that can use low temperature. And so that really reduces your electricity usage when you switch over that from a boiler plant to electrify your heating systems. The heat recovery from the ice plant, we use CO2 chillers as CO2 as a refrigerant for the chiller, and that provide a better heat recovery. And of course, the centerpiece of the renewable project was the geo exchange system and the heat pump to deliver that heat to the different zones of the building. You know, and also you'll see we did 600 kilowatts of solar rooftop as well. And something key to understand is to do the structural analysis before you do your rooftop PV. We were fortunate that at South Fletcher's, it was able to hold the 600 kilowatts.
So Chen, yeah, so Kristen's waiting in the wings there. So we did talk a little bit about the other source of funding, which is the Canada Infrastructure Bank, right?
Right.
If you want to say a couple words about that one,
No.
or the Green Inclusive Building Fund.
Let's,
Yeah,
if you
the
don't mind
green-
going back to, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Should I go back? Yeah. Yeah, so the Green
Maybe-
and Inclusive Community Buildings Fund, to my knowledge, it is no longer accepting applications. But I did speak to the the current Minister of the Environment at the federal level, and she does know it's an oversubscribed program, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the federal government, but maybe if based on the success of the oversubscriptions from previous years, maybe they'll bring it back. So maybe you can kind of keep your eyes on that website, the GICB website, and maybe subscribe for updates.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a program that has been going on since 2020, and the target was a 10-year program. They plan to end it 2029. And like Sean said, it's really been oversubscribed. Lots of municipalities have applied for it. In the 2024 budget, they did a top-up, couple of millions of dollars, and this last spring, they did another top-up, 153 or so, almost 154, excuse me, $1 million, and it got run out. I mean, and currently the application stage is closed. So watch out for the space; it could come back. Stephen, do you want to go back to slide 19, please? I think there's a slide that I want to speak to. 19, that's right. So we've got and Sean, thanks, by the way, insights on GMF, and I know GMF is one of the big ones from the federal perspective, and I've used it before when I worked as a municipal energy manager in Middlesex Center. GMF came to our rescue. There was no way a small municipality under 20,000 population were going to build the first net zero fire hall in Canada. But GMF suddenly rescued us, bailed us out financially, and we could do it. So I know the benefits of that program, and it's fantastic. And thanks for the insights and going, taking a deep dive in terms of how to get that funding. But there is other ones also that are available from the federal point of view. The Canada Infrastructure Bank is there. This is purely a loan basis, a loan with interest, tied to your energy savings. And it's something to explore. I mean, if you have tried the other sources like the GCIB that's oversubscribed, and you still want to, where else can I go? You can consider, Canada Infrastructure Bank. I know UFT, they just got almost 50 billion, money from them to do lots of retrofits, energy retrofits on campus. So it is. And municipalities do qualify. The website is there. You can always, click the website and get more information on that. The next slide, please, Stephen. And GCIB, sure. I would like to talk to this. There is one of the biggest funding that comes from federal, to municipalities. Annually, it's got almost 3 billion that comes, to municipalities, and it comes through municipal associations. So in Ontario is the Association of Municipalities that administer this particular funding. This funding, it's the coolest part about this funding is permanent. Rain or shine, you're going to get your money. It's predictable, you know how much you're going to get it, and it's flexible in terms of usage. But there are categories, and the categories, energy systems is one of such category. Wastewater infrastructure also is energy retrofits. So if you targeting this kind of funding, just know that in July, mid-November, this funding is going to come. But in order to access it as an energy manager or someone interested in an energy efficiency project, you have to make sure you've included that particular project you want to do in your asset management plan, because that's to fund programs under asset management. So once your project is under asset management plan, you will get access to this funding to do your projects. And the money is cool. I mean, it's per capita basis, that's population dependent, 6 to 7 digit income, I mean, funding you're going to get for your project. Of course, for other projects in the municipality, but you will qualify as well from your energy efficiency point of view. All right. So let's talk about provincial funding. What are some of the provincial? Enbridge Gas. Enbridge Gas is around for equipment, for audits, for new construction, for custom retrofits. And let's take a deep dive to some of the specifics in terms of equipment upgrade. If you are a municipality online and you've got a long-term care facility, sure, a program like this really will come handy for you. In terms of, let's say, for example, you've got some fans you want to replace, or you want to put in new technology for your laundry systems. You use the ozone laundry system, use ozone molecules to do your laundry. You will not have to use hot water again, savings on energy and savings on water, of course. This program is a cool program that you can think of. And I always say, before you ever embark on any energy efficiency program or project, just check with some of these guys first, because you never know how much you can save. In terms of audits and assessment, sure, if you are doing a climate plan or building assessment report or any other report that you do that is related to energy efficiency, and you have some audits that you want to do, Enbridge will help you in that regard. All you need to do is contact your energy solution advisor, and they will take care of that. Then in terms of the affordable housing space, also there is funding that is available up to 40,000 per housing provider. And in terms of heat pumps, water heater, you can get up to 200K, for that. And like I said, just contact your energy solutions advisor to access the funding. They will talk with you, they'll give you the direction. Over here, in terms of it's a discount program, so you just need to speak to the product supplier that is on their distributor list. To begin, there's no paperwork. You make your purchase for your hot water, space heating hot water, or domestic hot water. For food services as well, in terms of this is a plan. Just hold on a second here, Stephen. This is another program I will encourage municipalities to have a look at, because I know most municipalities have community kitchens. Personally, I've been involved in a community program. We use I live in London, so we use the City of London, one of their community centers. And the last time we went there, we realized they had new kitchen facilities, high efficiency broilers, conveyor ovens, and fryers. Some of this equipment saves you energy up to 50%, 30 to 50%. So if you are at that point that you want to upgrade your kitchen system in a community center, check with these programs, and Enbridge will help you out in terms of savings. If it's renewable natural gas solution, sure, there is a program also they do have. I know City of Hamilton has been one of the first early adopters of this program in terms of their fleet. One of the drastic ways to really cut down your GHG emissions is through renewable natural gas programs, especially on your fleet, and Hamilton has done it. And if it's an area you're considering, there's no upfront cost to you as a municipality, and they will give you the capital support to be there, and this expert help will be there as well for you to do that.
And the theme is show me the money. I love this slide, right? Because it shows you the money. But the neat thing about the Enbridge programs, from time to time, towards the end of the year, they actually have a limited time special where they double the incentive, as we've identified on this slide. So
right,
if you've got a project that might qualify, talk to them. If you can sneak an application in by October 31st, 50 cents a cubic meter. That could be pretty attractive on some of these projects.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about doubling, currently there's a special going on for the ozone laundry You know, if you are a long-term care and you're thinking of that, certainly there is some money there to make. All right, let's keep going. We still have Nathan and Supri to oh, so the IESO, we're familiar. We've got the Industrial Energy Efficiency Program. I won't mention much about it because we've got a case study coming. Retrofit program on the next slide. A retrofit program, yeah, we will check out the case study. Retrofit program, this is also in terms of prescriptive and custom. It's available in terms of whatever you want to do. In a nutshell, this is what the incentive is all about. So whatever you want to do, energy efficiency, whether it's HVAC or solar PV or lighting controls, check with us. We will help you with 1%, 2%, 3% of your project cost. And no money is little money. Every money plays any reduction that you're going to get will play a role, and you can apply online for this as well. Let's on the next slide, let's see what we have. These are instant discount. It's used to be a prescriptive program. Lighting upgrades, we as LAS have a program that we offer in this particular category, and we've helped close to 100 municipalities upgrade their lights to LED. Very turnkey. We come on site, we do the audit, we do everything for you. You don't have to really do anything, so to speak. Currently, it's no application process, but at the distributor level, you get your incentives. We recently did a long-term care and they got almost 50K for upgrading their lights. And these lights are being phased out. As of January 1st, 2026, the CFL is going to be gone. Fluorescent lights is going to be in the gradual phase. Also, is going to be banned in terms of manufacturing. So if you have any of these lights in your facilities, this is a time to act now because incentives are available. Because there is going to be a time you have them, you will not even have them on the market, and incentives will not be available. And to the next slide. And the IESO existing building commission also another opportunity to check energy efficiency within your systems. Begin with an investigation phase to implementation and persistence, but up to 50K, per stage, you are going to get money for that. Then we move on to the next one and see what is there. The IESO Energy Performance Program also it's another opportunity for you. Go on their website with the email address there, and you can get more information, pay for performance. They will track your savings, and you will make money as an energy manager through your initiative for your municipality.
And that's kind of a catch-all program. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as it meets the criteria, you're going to get that incentive. So it's not specific to a technology, and it can be operational and technological. So that's kind of a neat program, but it does require you to sign on.
Sure. Thanks for the clarity on that, Stephen. And what do we have next? We have SCM. This is another cool program because I kind of have a nostalgic, towards the the energy manager. You cover up to 50% of the salary, up to 100K. This is how I got into this space of energy management. Way back then, it was through this program. It wasn't this program per se, but a similar type of this program that my salary was being paid for as an energy manager through this program. So it's a cool program.
And I believe that Supri and Nathan are both part of the SCM program, so they could probably
Supri and Nathan, that's right. Part of the SCM program is a cohort, expert-led coaching program that they bring capacity building to municipalities. Cool program. I'll let them talk about the experience on that. And one of I feel this is a no-brainer. If you're a municipality out there, think about this program because, hey, there's nothing like 75% of the cost of your workshop being paid for by the IESO, but they are doing it. So that's one side on the money side, and show me the money side. On the second side is there is an energy hunt that we undertake that you identify savings, tens of thousands of savings. And I know Supri will speak to that aspect in the AJAS case study. But it's a cool program, and another funding opportunity out there. Over to you, Supri. I'm sorry, Nathan.
Good morning. Thank you, Christian. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Again, my name is Nathan Gerber. I'm the coordinator of energy management at Oxford County. I only have a few minutes, so I'll walk you through some of the highlights of 3 projects examples. You can go to the next slide, Stephen. So the first one is a demand ventilation control project. We also have an existing building commissioning project and a biogas utilization project at our wastewater treatment facility. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, so the first project relates to a demand ventilation control system installed on the kitchen hood at our Woodingford Lodge long-term care facility in Woodstock. The system includes sensors that measure the temperature and particulates in the kitchen hood and relaying that data to a controller that modulates the exhaust fan and makeup air fan. These fans were equipped with VFDs to control the air volume based on the kitchen's demand. So for this project, we applied to Enbridge's demand control kitchen ventilation program, which is a prescriptive program based on the kitchen hood's exhaust, which in this particular case was 8,500 CFM, of which we received $6,200 in incentive. We also applied to the ISO's retrofit program under the custom stream. Incentives for this program, as mentioned earlier, are based on the electrical savings. So either the kilowatt hour savings or the peak demand reductions. For this application, we had to perform engineering calculations to determine the impact of the changes to the exhaust and makeup air systems. We were pre-approved for $10,000 initially, but based on post-project analysis, we are expecting to receive $6,000 as there were some reductions to the peak demand savings for that particular project. So overall, this project costs about $35,000 to implement. With the incentives, the cost to the county was just under under 2-year payback. You can go to the next.
Nathan, I'm just going to add that if you were to do the return on investment, this is like putting money in the bank at about 40% interest rate. So
yes,
a great investment.
Yeah, no, it's a good project. So yeah, the second example is an existing building commissioning project we did also at the same facility, our Woodingford Lodge long-term care home. So for those unfamiliar with existing building commissioning, this process involves reviewing the building systems to ensure they are operating as intended. So it identifies inefficiencies and operational issues that can be corrected. We received incentives to the IESO's EBCX program. So to participate in this program, you have to hire an approved commissioning provider, which is on the list available through the ISO, who they then submit the application to the ISO's portal. Facilities for this program have to have a minimum of 750,000 kilowatt hours per year and have not had a commissioning exercise completed within 2 years. The incentive structure for this program is 3-phased. The first phase is the investigation phase, which is based on the square footage of the building and is paid out after the report is submitted. For this, we received $7,200 roughly, based on the square footage of the building. And the second phase and third phase are similar. They're based on the implemented measures and the verification of those measures, which are also paid out based on the kilowatt hours anticipated for those measures to be implemented. So overall, we expect to receive about $12,000 in incentives, which will help improve the payback for this project by about a year. So it's essentially an extra year of savings. I go to the next slide, Steve, please. Okay, so the final example is our biogas utilization project at our wastewater treatment plant in Woodstock. This project involved capturing waste biogas, which was being flared. Right now, it's just being wasted to flare, and using it in a combined heat and power unit to generate electricity and heat for the operations at the facility, offsetting both the gas and electrical consumption. This project currently going through REA approval from the MECP, but we've applied to the IEEP program through the ISO. This program is a little more involved. You have to submit a project proposal and a measurement and verification plan, which is then reviewed by the ISO's technical review team. The proposal has to outline your targeted kilowatt hour savings and the incentive amount requested. and their evaluation is based on those metrics, among others. So once approved, you have to complete the project to then receive the funding, and the funding is based on how much electrical savings you achieve. So if you achieve 75% or more of your projected savings in electrical savings, you'll receive 100% of your approved incentive. If you achieve greater than 50%, but less than 75, you receive 75%. But if you achieve less than 50%, you receive no incentive. So there is some risk involved, and it's important to ensure that your projections are accurate and achievable. So overall, the project cost to implement was just over 4 million, and the payback is around 13 years. So without the incentive, it would be essentially an additional year or so on that payback period. The other program requirements, it has to be an industrial facility or industrial process. So this may not apply to everyone. And also there's some restrictions with how much energy you think you're going to save for the program. So you should check with your representative.
That's great,
so
Nathan. Thanks for showing the spectrum here, because you had like programs like right across the spectrum, and you also showed stacking of a couple of the gas and electric programs too, which somebody had asked about. So
yeah, that's great. So yeah, I went through that pretty quickly. So there's more information on the slide, so I'll have a look at that when you get it later. And if you have any questions, my email's on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. That's wonderful. And over to you, Supri. You're going to talk a little bit about what's happened at Ajax.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Good morning, everyone. My name is Supri. I'm the Energy and Sustainability Coordinator at the town of Ajax. I'm going to, in the interest of time, just kind of quickly go over the first two slides and focus more on the third slide. So I'm going to share about how we successfully implemented some of our energy efficiency projects using the Save on Energy incentive programs. These projects, they were targeted for our key municipal facilities, and they delivered measurable improvements. They included the lighting retrofits at Ajax Library and the variable frequency drives in the air handling units at Ajax Community Center and McLean Community Center. We also selected the custom path because it met our operational needs. To move on to the next slide, one of our major challenges that we encountered was the complexity of the retrofit application process when it was initially introduced. But luckily at that time, there was support from our local distribution company, who were the Save on Energy representatives. And with their guidance, we were able to streamline approvals and ensured that we could execute them smoothly. Some of the benefits that we saw with the implementation of these projects, they improved the lighting quality at the library. You know how important lighting is at the library, and to kind of increase the visibility, and it also enhanced safety. There was significant energy and cost savings across all of our facilities that were involved in this program. And also there was an enhanced comfort and indoor air quality at both the community centers. So overall, we achieved nearly $22,000 in incentives and savings of 170,000 kilowatt hours, which is equivalent to powering 15 homes for an entire year.
Supri, I really like how you've highlighted the other benefits, not just the money. It's about the other things which translates to money in your organization too. So
absolutely, and especially being a public entity, it's important how safe and secure the residents feel, right? Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, so jumping on to the case study that Christian had mentioned. So this particular slide, it talks about our corporate energy management workshop that we conducted in May of last year. So we brought together a diverse group of 30 staff from various departments, from operations, facilities, planning, finance, and corporate services. The goal was very simple, but yet we wanted to deliver a powerful message to foster active staff engagement in energy saving strategies and build a strong culture of sustainability. We were fortunate enough to have our two outstanding industry experts leading the sessions, Stephen Dixon and Christian Pham, who actually brought a deep expertise and practical insights that really resonated with our team. The sessions were designed to be interactive and practical. So we focused on two key areas: behavioral changes that support energy efficiency and operational improvements that can be implemented across the departments. And to achieve this, we completed the energy treasure hunt that Christian mentioned, of our community center called the Audley Recreation Center, where we did a facility walkthrough to determine energy improvements. This hands-on approach, it kind of made the content more relatable and actionable for everyone in the room, regardless of their role, because some of them have never seen how the refrigeration plant in an arena works or how big the boiler is in a swimming pool. So we leveraged the Save on Energy incentives to cover 75% of the training costs, making this workshop more accessible, and which also helped in encouraging future participation. One of the key success factors of this particular workshop was that cross-departmental participation. Having that mix of perspectives encouraged fresh ideas. It created a sense of shared ownership over our energy goals. So what made this especially impactful was involvement of our senior decision makers and also our front operational staff. So that an alignment from strategy to execution, it helped us ensure that the workshop's lessons could be put into practice. We received positive feedback from participants, and many of them expressed genuine enthusiasm for continued involvement in sustainability efforts. And as a direct result of this workshop, we've started implementing the energy saving measures identified during the Energy Treasure Hunt. These actions are already contributing to our broader sustainability goals and demonstrating the value of staff-led initiatives. That's why it's more impactful. So to wrap up, these projects, they demonstrate how strategic upgrades and collaboration can lead to lasting operational and environmental benefits. We're proud of the progress and grateful for all of the support from Save on Energy and our LDC partners. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry I quickly went through a lot of the items, but if you have any questions, please do reach out to me. My email is right there. Thanks.
Sure.
That was wonderful. That was great, Supi. Thank you very much. And yeah, I mean, the training is a part that's always close to my heart. So I appreciate that call out there too, and the LIS treasure hunts that we've been doing. So is Chun there? Maybe, I think it says Chun is typing an answer, but he's been typing for a long time. The answer was, how many of the funding streams discussed today can be stacked? And you can stack the electric and the gas ones for sure. The question about stacking maybe FCN with those ones, I'm not sure. Chun, can you speak to that? Or maybe we can seek an answer to that one and get back to folks if we can't do it right now.
Yeah, thanks for that, Stephen. I think as a collective, we'll get back because it involves a number of funding streams. I know for FCM that a letter does need to be written to the provincial government saying that the municipality is investigating funding from FCM. But as to all streams, I think it's a question for the collective. And yeah, so
we'll get back with maybe a little bit of a matrix about how these things could be stacked. That's a good takeaway for our team here. Thank you, Chun. I think you've answered most of the questions out there. So we are approaching our 11 a.m., but anybody want to add any few extra comments on our team? Well, look, there's the poll. We were able to actually see the results of the poll. So there you go, Chun. You can see where people are actually looking to submit funding applications. So do you have any comments on that one, Chun?
Yeah, I think I would have suspected earlier in the year, because I know from a municipal standpoint, budget season kind of happens summer to fall, and so earlier in the winter or earlier in the year I would have suspected.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, I think it's almost uniformly distributed, probably more before June, but not that much less after June. So that's good.
Yeah. So I guess what I meant to say was earlier in the year, meaning the first half of the year. So but it is close. You're right. It is close as well. So
all right, Christian, I'm going to ask you to close us out here.
Right. We've got a minute. That's right. We've got a minute to finish, and thank you all for coming. We appreciate your support. We got a record number of attendees that registered for this workshop. We had 96, we had almost 65, so that's close to 2/3 or above that showed up, and we appreciate. If you have any question anything. We are your municipal association together with the experts like Sean and Stephen who are here. The municipal partners also, Supri and Ajas and Oxford County are also here. Feel free to reach out to each and any one of us, and we are here to help you. As I said earlier, LAS is a non-for-profit. This is not about money, but it is about helping your municipality to succeed in terms of where to identify the money and get the money. So show me the money. That is Tom Cruise movie in 1996. If you want to check it out, just go check it out. It's funny and interesting. I just saw a clip before I came into this this webinar. It's online. It's a very funny movie. So that's where it all came from. But thank you for joining once again, and we are glad you were able to join. And feel free to reach out to us anytime. Shoot us an email, and we'll take it from there. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend. That's right. Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.